So yeah, this is one of the things I'll have to check, see what it looks like. Well, guys, it's 12:06. We have an intimate crowd, if you will, and that's fine. I think we can still have a great conversation. Let me just take just a half a heartbeat here. A little background for those who are not familiar, particularly with the Professional Development Consortium of Hampton Roads. The consortium was founded in 2017 to serve the leadership and management education needs of folks who run associations. So, and by associations, we mean normally membership groups that meet semi-formally and are structured, at least semi-formally, about a common interest area in Hampton Roads. So might be professional societies, might be trade organizations, might be a flag, might be civic leagues, homeowners associations, fraternal orders, basically anywhere, any group of people who gather around a common interest area and share a common business model of we do things for our members, we try and bring in more members, we try and turn some of our members into engaged members and some of those engaged members into leaders for next year. So that's the kind of model that the consortium is built around. We offer a bunch of educational stuff, about roughly once a month. Most of them are free. A couple of them are a couple dollars. But they primarily fall into two camps. One is a workshop like situation where a commercial or academic expert leads a conversation and activities and stuff like that. And the others are roundtables like you're attending today, where this is more about connecting with others. So we have this tool, Lean Coffee Table, that I'll teach you how to use really quick, by which the participants in the conversation figure out what should be on the agenda, what's the priority of the agenda, and how long we talk on any particular topic. So it's kind of a neat thing. So you're all logged into that. We'll just leave, we'll see if anybody joins us. Probably not at this point. So we'll go as long as you'd like. And the nice thing is, even though you're all invited here, conceptually because you have an interest in outreach and community relations, you're abundantly welcome to steer this conversation today wherever the group wishes. So just to show of hands, make sure everybody can see their Lean Coffee Table website or browser. All right, good deal, good deal. And I said, oh, nice thumbs up, Christian. I always forget that thing's there. All right, so what we'll do here is, let me just quick overview of the process, and then we'll step through it. So everybody should have on the screen a block where it says add topics or something like that. So again, thumbs up. See that? All right, good deal. All right, so what we'll do is, because we got a small group, we've got a little bit of room here. So I'll ask everybody to type out one topic that you're interested in talking about today and just put it in that little block. So we'll do like, we'll do 4 of those maximum. So one idea per block, then enter it and then hit another one. So I'll go ahead and watch you as you populate that. If you've got any questions, of course, just sing out to me. So ready, steady, go. Oh, look, there's something about COVID. That's unusual. All right, just a quick sidebar. I see Kip joined us. Hey, Kip, in the chat box, you'll see a link to the Lean Coffee Table website that we're using. So I ask you to go ahead and click on that and log yourself in, and then we'll get you caught up here. So for folks who've been entering stuff, so we got like 8 potential topics here. Anybody, I mean, are we all set? Give me a thumbs up if you're all done putting in stuff. Alrighty. All right, so we'll just go with what we've got here. So the next step in this process is we just, if there's any topics here that look the same or very similar, we'll go ahead and merge them, which is something that I do as the facilitator. I think just as a quick scan, they all stand pretty well on their own. There might be some relations, but I think we can just keep them as is. Unless somebody says, oh, no, we definitely need to combine anything here. I think we're good to go. So hearing no objection, we're going to move on to the next step, and where there's voting. So each of us has 3 votes, and you can place, so before you start voting, I'll ask you, just listening, is that you place your votes wherever you want among these topics. You can put all 3 of your votes on one topic if it really speaks to you, or you can distribute them however you want. Where we'll go after this is we'll start our conversation around whichever topic receives the most votes. So with that, let's take a minute or two and go ahead and place your 3 votes. You just click on the bottom of the topic where it says vote.
Hey, Mark, before we go,
yeah.
I don't know if it's just, I guess it's just me, but I can only see number 6 through 13. I don't seem to be able to scroll down.
Feel free to ignore those numbers. What those, those are the.
Okay.
I've used some other ones all testing this earlier. So if you see 8 of them, you see all of them.
Oh, okay. I did.
So go ahead and vote, please. Okay, Bill, you got 1 more vote. There you go. So everything's in here. So I'm going to go ahead and get the discussion started. So here's how we control the discussion is, after I click something here in the background, we'll bring whichever is the highest votes, in this case should be using organizational website, into the forefront. We'll give ourselves 5 minutes to discuss that. And then at the end of the 5 minutes, you'll have a chance to vote again. Do we continue the conversation for a few more minutes, or do we, have enough? Let's move on to the next one. So it'll become more apparent as we go through this. So I'm going to go ahead and get us set up. And I'm going to, you see it's arranged. So like I said, we'll get us started for 5 minutes and you'll hear the timer. So I've got that going. Steve, could you kick this off? This was your thought.
I'm working on a couple of different boards, not leading them, but I'm one of the board members. And it's together with Kip there, we're working on TASC, TGIC, AFCEA, those military organizations.
Right.
And one thing Kip and I have been working on is how do we change this website so we can get members to pass and use that rather than using something like LinkedIn, which if you use LinkedIn, they own the data. If you use our website, it's a matter of getting people there, and how do you continue to attract people to your website, as opposed to something like LinkedIn, which is used like every day by everybody in business.
So thoughts, anyone? Kind of a free for all, just jump right in there.
Yeah, so we're doing this verbally, we're not typing comments, right?
No, let's just talk it through.
Yeah, okay. So my experience is there's generally not a person who knows a lot about the different webmaster stuff and things like that. And so finding the right person to do it, to facilitate just a web, keeping it up to date and then getting a communication tool seems to be a problem with the groups that I've been involved with. And I certainly am not one that could solve that problem.
Yeah, and this is Kip. I'll hop in and piggyback on those comments. So Steve, in not trying to, I don't know what the right word is, but take over this conversation between you and I think one of the solutions is convincing somebody at TASC to give you and I access to the platform so we can actively communicate with those members and direct them to the platform. I think that's been my experience with the USNA group. The more we connect directly with them and talk to them, to direct them in a specific direction, we get responses to that. We get people participating.
One of the things that I've observed, because I've been in and looked at an awful lot of associations, is and this will be stunningly obvious, is looking at the quality of the information there. And I'm not talking about dead-on accuracy so much as what can you put there that's of value to the members in advancing whatever reason it is that they come there. I mean, that's a key component to attractiveness. The flip side of the coin is one of the challenges, several websites or social media simply announces the next gathering. So that might be a waste of real estate. So that's, I think, a question for you in addition to the mechanical or the technical aspect is, what do you know that the members value, and what are you uniquely providing there that they're not likely to get somewhere else?
Yeah, so Mark, I think you make a point. A lot of the communication that I was referring to was just a simple effort. Hey, we've got this next opportunity, and the opportunities can range from a happy hour to a business networking meeting to a panel discussion, and that generates activity and interest in RSVPs. But we're in one of the groups that I mentioned with my comments back to Steve, we're kind of growing the support group and getting different people doing different elements, getting more participation. That's certainly always helpful. The more volunteers you can get to help with any specific elements of the group's efforts, getting more people involved gets more engagement. And we're starting an effort to actually record what happens at some of our meetings on a monthly basis. And we're going to post that to, and then going back to your comment, simply posting the minutes of who attended, what they do, isn't really useful information for anybody.
Right.
So my recommendation to the guy who's doing the minutes was put at the very top, what were the asks, what were the offers, and what were the other interesting points that everybody might be interested in. Put that at the top of the list. If you send out asks, offers, and useful information at the top of any communication, hopefully you're getting to that element that you talked about, useful information for members.
Right. So, so that's the end of our 5 minutes. So all of you should have on your screen chance to vote here. Do we keep talking about this? So that's the extend topic. Don't care is no preference, and move along, it would be end topic. So just go ahead, everybody, and cast your votes there. Okay. So the vote totals come in,
Aye.
and of course there's this horrible split. I'm going to just wave my facilitator flag and say that since two say move along and one's kind of indifferent, we'll go ahead and move along. Obviously, we're all adults here, and if we decide to circle back to this, that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and move us on to the next topic. All right. So move that out here. So the next topic, or the next greatest number of votes, is attracting board members. I'm going to go ahead and again set the timer for 5 minutes. So Christian, you get a little back brief on this, maybe?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been president of my organization almost for 2 years, and the one thing that seems to remain constant is that people find something else to do, and I'm always looking for board members. But we're a working board, so when I put the call out there, I need folks who can actually get involved, and so I'm having trouble there, and would just like to kind of hear from folks, like how you're finding leadership.
Apparently no one's finding leadership.
So this is Kip. I'm not actually generally looking for leaders, but I am always looking for participation, support, volunteers. Kind of going back to the previous conversation that Steve brought up. So I don't know that looking for leaders is different from looking for volunteers, but the only thing I can say is you got to ask a lot. It's that simple. You just got to keep asking.
Where are you going when you're making that ask?
Okay, so, if I take the two groups that kind of are at the top of the conversation that Steve brought up, one is Tidewater Association of Service Contractors, and the other is the U.S. Naval Academy Alumni Chapter. I'm, going to the people that I engage in those groups that, maybe they're not raising their hand, but they're making a comment or they're offering an opinion that maybe opens the door to saying, maybe they're willing to give us a hand. I'm looking for any opening to put out the ask, hey, would you be willing to X?
Okay, so it really is piggybacking off the last thing. So you guys were talking about the web page, which of course, we have the same challenge. Last time I added a board member, I was specifically, looking for somebody who could help with that. Luckily, I found it. Do you tend to do it that way? Like you try to fill a need, or are you just like looking for bodies?
Well, if you're asking me specifically, I think, it's opportunistic. Again, we're not trying to fill leadership positions per se. We're just trying to enhance the organization, keep the process and momentum moving forward. So, at any given point, if somebody is making the comment or the suggestion that puts the light bulb off in your head that says, hey, maybe we can leverage that, that's kind of been the dynamic. Your approach to actual fill defined positions may need to be a little bit more focused and may need to take a different tack. But, I'd say that you probably have some, through engagement with your members, some of those light bulb moments too, just to kind of to leverage when they come up.
The thing that I get is, And Kip, there's one other organization, is AFCEA.
Yep.
And I've been an AFCEA board member for the local chapter a couple of different times. And I just got a call again last month, said, hey, Steve, you've done this, you want to consider doing it again. And so that happens a lot with organizations that I've been a part of, is that, you know, I get guys that have volunteered get called again. And you can either say yay or nay. But at one point I was on a board for, I guess, the AFCEA board for probably 4 or 5 years in a position, and nobody else was taking the position. Finally, somebody stood up, and he ended up fleeting up to the president of that organization. And but yeah, it seems to be kind of a rotating circle in the leadership positions. People who have served get called to serve again. And I don't know how that answers the question of attracting new members, but I guess it's really looking to reach out. Who are the members that are speaking up during the meetings, or the people that are connecting a lot, and say, hey, it's time for you to get involved in a position.
Yeah, I mean, that's a challenge for us. And, you know, I really try not to lean on people who've done it before, because, I mean, they have limited capacity. They've already done this. So let's find some new blood. And to be really frank about it, I'm also, you can see my picture on the screen. I'm also trying to find people who don't look like me. And that's been challenging too. So.
Time's up.
All right, so time's up here. So we've had like about 3 or 4 people join in, at least on the Zoom. For those, so Taya, Alcina, I think a few others have joined us. You're welcome to continue to be part of the conversation. Check the chat box, please, and click on that link for the Lean Coffee Table so you can see the topics that we're discussing and how we're managing them. But we'll keep working on these continuing topics. So for those who are in Lean Coffee right now, let's go ahead and vote on extending, no preference, or ending this topic about getting folks to the board. I bet you I know how this shakes out. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and run this one for about another 4 minutes to give other folks who've joined a chance to get their footing and get caught up with that. So, so I've added 4 minutes to attracting board members. I would like to share some thoughts and a couple quick thoughts and observations for consideration here. This goes back to, Christian was saying that, he's got a working board. That's what all associations are, essentially, they have working boards. So you're not only looking for good leaders, you're also looking for good managers, because they're rolling up sleeves, et cetera, et cetera. Another thought is the general call for volunteers, the slide at a meeting, or the email that says looking for a volunteer to, take charge of operations or whatever. It's kind of like the lottery or lightning hit you twice. I've seen and would suggest as the best practice is, and I think Steve, you were in this area, is identifying the folks who are already well engaged somehow, and ask them. Just directly, point blank, could I ask you to do this? Now, the challenge is, if you're asking them to come to the board immediately, that's a risky proposition for them as well as for the board. So I'm not going to take up much more time with this, other than think about volunteering as a life cycle, from never did it before to ultimately being in charge of the organization. So I'll sit back now.
Okay, thanks. Bill, I have some thoughts. It seems a new blood that comes in through the organizations I've been involved with is there's basically new people that have come in, and they get something from the organization, and then there does have to be a culture that makes it attractive for people to be part of the intergroup or part of the board. So I think you set the environment and fertilize it and give it water and let it grow, and some things will bear fruit and other things won't. So every new person that comes in is a potential, and there's also the diversity of different professions or different backgrounds is also a big plus.
This is Kip, and piggybacking off of what Mark and, is it Bill or William? Sorry.
It's Bill. Yeah.
Bill. All right. Piggyback off of Bill and Mark's comments. One, I totally endorse the idea you can't ask for volunteers via the slide. It's got to be a personal ask. And Bill, and even what Chris said, you do need to look for people that enhance, expand, increase your diversity or capabilities or knowledge. And I think it all drives back to just trying to be a salesperson and asking. And don't be afraid to tell them to say no if they can't do it, because you want somebody who can actually do the work, like Chris said. You know, you don't want them to say yes because they feel bad for you. You want them to say yes because they want to participate, support.
This is
Sounds good.
just quick piggyback on what Kip was saying. And you should have a really clear ask. You should know precisely what you want that volunteer to do. It's more than just saying, do you have this skill set? So, anyways, time's running down. We've had the opportunity to vote again, whether or not we continue this topic or we move on to whatever's next. Okay, it looks like only one vote right here to extend the topic. So we'll go ahead and finish this one and make room for everybody's favorite or next favorite, attracting new members. So again, I'll put another 5 minutes back on the clock. And Bill, you're probably not unique with this one, but go ahead and, you know, if you get us started with a couple thoughts on this. Okay,
so this is pretty similar to the previous topic there. The different role of members are just the body per se, and you do need a nexus. You just can't have 2 or 3 people talking to each other every month or every quarter, things like that. You need catalysts, excitement that membership brings, and then you need the new members to come in. So attracting new members, using networks, inviting folks is a key part. That might be the most critical part, is just inviting folks to come to these meetings that you think would be one, interested, and add to the body writ large.
So when you say inviting, Bill, you're speaking about you know, a personal invitation or a blanket invitation, or both?
Well, personal. I think personal is more effective.
This Kip, that's the direction I was going to head, Bill. Is that, you know, in our networking group, you know, one of the asks at the end is, remember that if you bring somebody with you the next time, that's the best way to help us grow the group. So you got to remind and encourage your members to be part of your recruiting effort, not just rely on the leadership.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's actually a great point. The strongest recruiting tool that any association has is its current membership, or at least the engaged members. It's different when, you know, a leader says, "Oh, you should come and join us," as opposed to, pardon the term, rank and file, puts more of their own credibility on the line. Say, "Hey, I go here because I get, you know, this personal or professional value out of it, and I think you're a pretty cool person, and, you know, I'd like you to gain this as well."
So we're a paid membership business association. So like not just networking, but that's part of it. And we did events all the time. So this year, of course, it's been a little challenging because people are like, well, you know, why do I want to join if there's nothing going on? I mean, there are things going on, but it's not the fun events that we used to do. So for us, it has been the direct ask. Some of our long-term membership, and then of course our board members targeting certain folks who we'd like to join, and we actually had a little uptick in new members, which has been good. Then the piggyback challenge of that has been renewals, because I have people who say, well, I've been doing this for a couple of years and COVID means we can't do any events, so I'm just going to hold off this year. But the thing is, I need those memberships so we can still plan stuff, you know, going forward. So it's been kind of a weird roller coaster ride.
Yeah, Christian, do you mind sharing what the more specifics about the organization?
Sure. So the organization is called Hampton Roads Business Outreach, and it's LGBT Chamber of Commerce for Coastal Virginia.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So,
This is Kip, because I hadn't heard of that organization. Obviously, from the title, we know a little bit about it, but can you give us more information about how long it's been around and what are some of the activities you're doing?
Sure. I wasn't sure if we wanted a full commercial or not. So the organization started in 2007. The mission, you know, in the beginning really was to create a place for LGBT business owners to come together and kind of, you know, network. And now that's changed a little bit, where we of course we still do our networking events, but we have a business certification program. We do continuing education. We do some like HR and policies training for businesses, and then we advocate locally and at the state level for you know, things that promote you know, equality in the workplace, that help our members, you know, get contracts and business. So there's a pretty big organization now from when it started 13 years ago.
pretty neat.
Thanks
I
for
got
that.
to tell you right now, I'm going to vote to extend the topic. That doesn't mean you all have to, but I'm, you know, I think we have some momentum here. So let's go ahead and vote.
So looks like we're extending, so I'm just going to throw in some additional comments, piggybacking on Mark's comments and what we just learned from Bill and Chris. You know, whether you're looking for members or board members, you know, Mark said you got to make a specific ask. I think that's a great point. When I was recruiting people to help with membership in an organization, I said, these are the 3 things we want you to do. You don't have to do all of them every year, but we're looking for you to do at least one of these regularly over time. So that's a good thing. But similarly with membership, making the case to them that this is good for them for multiple reasons, and be ready to say, hey, these are the things our group is doing regularly. And it does, I think, you know, to this conversation always comes back down to the personal communication and, you know, what you convey as a member or as a leader to say, this makes sense for you to be a part of our group. And I think you'll get something out of it. Be a good salesman. I go back to that.
Right. Yeah, answer that. What's in it for them? The personal value as well as, you know, professional value. Let me just throw this out as a question. I kind of touched on this before. Actually, no, this is a new thing. So when you talk to your membership about the value of being, you know, a member, presumably that's the discussion for attracting new members, what's your basis for determining that value? Oh, you realize I asked a stumper.
Yeah, I'm
Was
stuck.
that internal value? Your value or
Whatever you use to
external?
attract new members, presumably it's some type of value discussion. Come here for the, you'll either learn more or you'll meet more or maybe social benefits or whatever. But is that value based on what your current membership says? Is it what your leadership team says is valuable, or do you go elsewhere to determine value?
Well, I guess maybe at the sound of being obvious, yes, it's got to make somebody's worthwhile to spend their Thursday evening or something, or Thursday afternoon or Thursday lunch with a group. They need to be fed, get some reinforcement of the value of that time. So I think it's a nexus. It's creating the environment. I'll go back to the environment, creating an environment where the people that are there get something out of it.
So I'll just talk over the vote because why not? We're pretty casual today. One thing to consider, and this is a little bit of a contrarian view for associations, is looking out in the community. So here's people who presumably share your interest area but are not yet members, and rather than just directly recruiting them, saying, "Oh, you should be here because you do project management," or "Oh, you should be here because you live in this zip code." It's more of a conversation saying, "What's important to you about being a project manager? What's important to you about living in this zip code, et cetera, et cetera?" And bring that kind of information back and say, "All right, so for us to pitch to prospective members, here's some value offerings that we should see if we're addressing." And the bonus of that is if you capture some of those, you can also guide your own internal programming and development, which is incredibly important for membership retention. So just a thought there. So I went and extended arbitrarily because I've got all the keys. But how about everybody else? Should we continue on this or move along? Hey, Alcina, I noticed you've got a couple comments in the group chat box that I'm probably catching them a little too late. If you can, you're certainly welcome to take yourself off mute and join. Same thing goes for Taya and Ingrid.
Good afternoon, everyone. I got in a little bit late. I'm sorry.
That's all right. And
Listening
who's that?
catch up. I work for the Vet Center. You guys were all talking about diversity. I work with veterans, and veterans are very involved here, especially in Gainesville, Florida, and Alachua. I'm also get involved with Alachua County Veterans Service Office, which has a board membership there. I don't know if anyone is participating, but we also look for civilians who can participate as well. But my job is to do outreach and inform everyone about the services that we provide in the VA, through the VA system, out in the community. We're actually out in the community on 75th Street, Tower Road. A lot of people don't know that we exist and that we're here to help and assist and guide. And our services are totally free to our veterans and as well as the community. And we're just here to serve. If you're in need of veterans that you need to volunteer, veterans are one of the first groups that love to volunteer.
All right, good. Well, I'm glad you could join us, Ingrid.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for joining in. In terms of this topic, we're going to move along. We're going to go ahead and finish this one. Yeah, Christian, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can make a whole session on this topic. Oh, absolutely. And little plug for what PDCHR with the consortium does, is we have whole topics, on some of these, and the roundtable is actually a pretty rich source of saying, here's something that, we need to cover in a workshop or, some type of in-depth thing. So I moved us on to the next one, strategy building during COVID. And Christian, you put this one in there. So if you want to get the chat rolling.
Okay. So, it's funny how we build on what we've talked about. Again, as the president of the board, it's part of my job to, do some strategic planning going forward. And for me, that's been a little bit difficult because, not being able to do things, not necessarily having the same contact with prospective members, to be very frank, having some board members that I wanted to use, have changes in their life, whether it's losing jobs or moving out of the area. So it's been tough to kind of do some strategic planning during this COVID period. So looking for ideas, best practices. What are you doing to plan for your organization?
Bill, this might be a good time to, fire up the design thinking concept.
Yeah, the who moved the cheese thing.
All right.
Yes. So especially in COVID, I mean, one of the things is everything's distance. So strategy building, you have to get used to doing it on Zoom and different things like that. Using techniques like this technique that Mark's using, this green coffee approach helps focus and move things along. There's a thing called design thinking approach. You can look it up online. It's one of many different approaches, but for strategy building, you start off with the you really start off with what the mission of the organization is. Just reinforce that or revisit that with your group, and then do brainstorming on just what are the issues, just the spitballing, and then go down to the focus on what can be, what's a gap, what can be accomplished to fix it, and such like that. So the key is wherever you're at, either remotely or in person, is have a focused approach. Having a good facilitator is very helpful. And I'll just stop there for a minute and see how that resonates.
So Christian, any gems in there or
Yeah.
or struggles?
Yeah, I was counting to 8 in case anybody else wanted to jump in. Yeah, no, that's cool. I don't know. Do you have that like in a document or something that I can have as a guideline?
Yeah, we actually we did a session on that a couple months ago in March, when COVID first started. It was about somebody moved to cheese. And it was basically for association. So I can send you that presentation, and then we can talk offline.
Oh, sure.
But it's really the gist of having an approach to get traction. And again, you're seeing it in an example of it right here, right today. Mark's using an approach. He did the brainstorming up front, let everybody share what was on their mind. Then let everybody give value to it, or what they'd be most interested in talking about, and then have the opportunity to do some more brainstorming and such like that. So what we're doing today is an example of strategy building.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I think that by our nature, we want to be together. We want to sit in groups and work together. And Zoom is neat, but it's not the same feeling. And so, figuring out how to work around that. I actually I wasn't sure about this lean coffee table tool at first, but now I kind of like it. So I'm going to figure out how to steal that too.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, quick thing on the
Yep.
Lean coffee table. This is something I had stumbled across. It was, a salon style conversation with, no kidding, with stickers and stuff like that. And once you get past a little bit of the inherent cumbersome, it's pretty neat for moving the conversations at the pace that the group, decides. So, so we went through our 5 minutes on that. Should we continue, no preference, or move along? All right. Hey, Bill, before I go ahead, it looks like we're going to move along here. Bill, is it okay if I share that presentation with all the attendees here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do that. We'll do a little bit, you'll get a thank you note probably Friday for attending. And, so this and any other resources that come up, we find. All right, Christian is signing off. So thank you so much for your participation. Good to see you again. Take care. Best of luck with your association. All right, so from the Department of Moving On, we're down to our single votes. Getting young rising students involved, presumably in your association. So go ahead and get us started with 5 minutes on the clock. So Bill, starter thoughts?
Okay, yeah, so curious, anybody's experience with getting or not getting the folks who just graduated college or in college, or even high school, somebody's just starting their professional career. We're looking at that at the organization I'm part of. An internship is one thing and such like that for jobs, but for professional organizations, it's something different. I always thought to myself, if I had joined an organization 20 years earlier than I did, I'd be much further along than I was. So curious if anybody's has an approach or has any luck, or actually it's been an issue with their organizations in getting the young professionals involved as members, and initially, but then also as board members.
Kip, you mentioned that you're with USNA alumni group. Is there an attraction there to people who have not yet gone to the academy?
Probably not. Not to throw our organization under the bus, but I'm throwing our organization under the bus. They don't really think broadly about, there's too many old white guys in our organization, frankly, and they only think about what the old white guys want to do. And there's not enough, brainstorming around how do we engage younger grads with families? What about, book clubs? What about, cultural activities? We seem stuck in, the old white guy getting naval people to come and talk to us and having happy hours and Naval Academy football gatherings, to watch football games. And, so I think our organization could probably do a lot better engaging with, younger kids and promoting the idea of how do you become a candidate for the academy. That's a great idea. That's actually, now that you've mentioned, I'm going to throw that at some of our leaders and see what they say.
There you go. Bonus. How about Ingrid or Taya or Alcina? Any thoughts you'd like to throw in here?
Hello.
Hi, Alcina. As-
I only just work out this once and they not touch anything else. I've been listening to you. I
Good to
think
hear
we
from
missed
you.
most of the event so far. Perhaps if we're having it again, try and be earlier now that you know a bit of how to get on. Thank you.
Okay, okay then.
Well, I think, well, first of all, I'm Tia. It's my first time here. I received the email. I was a little confused what was going on. I am a veteran. I am a project manager. I got in touch with the Veteran Center, letting them know that I am searching for work right now. However, I mean, I like what you guys have going on. In terms of suggestions, I'm a little young myself, so in terms of suggestions of how to get college students or folks who are just graduating involved, I think it'll be more of a, I don't know if you guys can assign somewhat of a peer-to-peer mentorship type thing with these college students. I think if you have someone that's on their level, their age, that understands technology, understands AI, I think that that would be a little bit more successful because one, they have someone that they can talk to, or at least they know where to go, but someone around their age group. So that way they don't think, hey, look, is this really ancient person that doesn't know about, right? You know, so I think that if you get someone around their age group to kind of get close to them, and then because the fastest or the best advertising, I think, is word of mouth. So once that program once you start to initiate that program, within little to no time, it'll catch fire.
Good point. Appreciate that. All right, so the clock's just about run out on our first 5 minutes on this. So again, those of you who are on the app or also eyeball the chat room if that's easier, should we continue this? Don't care, or should we move along? Folks, another minute or two to either click or write something in the chat box. Alrighty, so I think we're set there. We're going to move on to whatever's next. So, here's one I put in. I hardly ever try and put anything in here. So we'll get that clock started here. So how do I know who I should be reaching out to? Because I'm the guy in charge, I'm going to cut this one down to like just about 3 minutes because I think we touched a lot on this when we spoke about attracting new members. But what I want to do is just open this thought up a little bit. Obviously, in associations, you're very interested in membership. You know, how do you gain new members? How do you keep the ones you've got? And, you know, how do you leverage them? But I touched on this a little bit when I said going out in the community. So my question is, you know, how do you guys find the people who are not yet members, or how do you find folks who need to know about your organization, even if they're not really prospective members? That's my question for you guys. I will share that one of the things that we do in the consortium, which is not a membership organization, we are strictly an educational nonprofit, but we still try and reach out to bring people in, is I look for umbrella organizations. So, you know, I want to bring in, for example, the leaders of civic leagues in, you know, the cities around us, but that's a lot of shoe leather or virtual shoe leather, you know, to contact all of them individually and make a strong connection. So I reach out to umbrella organizations, for example, in our neighboring city of Norfolk, talk to the Department of Neighborhood Development because they already have the ear of the civic leads. And if I can convince this umbrella organization, at the city that we're of value, then perhaps they can pass the word about, our offerings to the civic leads and carry a little more weight or credibility. So your thoughts on who you should be, where you find people that you should connect to?
Well, I have to say, I'd like to say there has to be an overlap. There has to be some Venn diagram of some intersection of common ground, common interest, something like that. So the first thing is, and you may not even, when you're talking to somebody, it might not be obvious at first or something, but it basically has to have some overlap of interest.
Other thoughts? All right. Well, I'm glad I cut that down from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. I feel righteous about that. All right. So quick votes.
Yeah, we had already kind of beat that, skinned that cat a couple different ways.
All right. So we'll go ahead and finish that. We only had 2 other topics suggested. Steve Bain had put in collaboration updates. 1 vote, probably Steve's. What I'm going to do is, because he had to leave us, we're gonna skip that one, and we'll move on and close out with one that Bill suggested about understanding the new normal. And even though Christian's not with us, I think he would probably agree that this is one of those things that could actually be a pretty full topic under itself. So I'm going to go ahead and put us 5 minutes on this one, and then this will probably be the last topic we'll address today. So Bill, a little deeper on this one, maybe?
Okay. Well, I agree with it, and a lot of folks are saying we're never going to go back to the old normal, the pre-COVID things. I think we've got to just accept that Zoom meetings, hybrid meetings, and all that is going to be the new. There's going to be some type of, within the next year after the vaccinations are out and stuff like that, the curve's going to come back somewhat to what it used to be the old normal, but it's never going to go all the way back. So I think accepting it, is just embracing the fact that there's going to be change. This really ties into the thing we talked about with strategy. It's you've got to, for an organization, you have to have some strategic planning to deal with the new normal. When you're going to look at planning a year out, 2 years out, 3 years out, mission, vision, just about all this should be, has to be looked at. If your strategic plan is over a year old, it's already out of date and such like that. So I guess the bumper sticker is understand that we're not going back. There is a new normal. Any thoughts on that?
I'll tell you one thing that pops to mind is, and it pops to mind because I know what your presentation was, is what does being in this COVID environment for and its impact will be with us for quite a while, vaccine and beyond. When we think about strategy is a method to achieve your overall mission and purpose. So I think this gives us pause to actually check on mission. Does our mission change because of the presence of COVID? The way we accomplish it might certainly change, but really, is there something to our mission or purpose that should also consider change? And that's that's a big part of driving, strategy. We went through this conversation, again, I'll just share a little bit insight about the consortium. So we went through this conversation over the last couple of months in some strategic planning sessions, and fundamentally, through a lot of discussion, we decided that our mission for educating association leaders did not change, but how we measure success is going to change. And of course, how do we do delivery? How do we change our revenue producing events? So there's a lot of changes in tools, but we made a conscious decision first to validate that our mission and purpose remain intact. So, other thoughts, other voices?
I'll just put a plug in for that, the presentation we're going to send out, Mark, and to everybody. That just, it kind of addresses how to approach new strategies and such like that in a new normal.
All right. Okay. All right. So so we're not rushing to we're not all rushing for the microphone. So I think we should declare victory at this point. So I'd like to do just a quick little pitch for the consortium, and I've put a bunch of stuff in the group chat, the Zoom chat. Like I said at the top of this, for those who weren't here, Professional Development Consortium of Hampton Roads provides educational opportunities like this one, or ones that are a little more traditional, educator-led, either commercial or academic experts. We do something just about every month, sometimes a couple times a month. Most of them are free. We do have coming up, we do have coming up next month our master class, which is 2 hours online, where we're going to have 5 experts presenting opportunities and thoughts on some very specific topics to running associations. So we'll be talking a few things very specific about programming, something about outreach, like we heard about today, some more on membership engagement and bringing volunteers along with leadership, and also closing session on strategies. So it'll be a bit of a fire hose, and that's pretty cool. You can see the link at the bottom of what I just put in the group chat, the Masterclass 2020. That's one of the only 2 things in the year we charge for. So save up your money for 29 bucks for that. But you're also welcome, to check out our website at pdchr.org or events.pdchr.org just to see what we're up to. Y'all getting stuck on the mailing list, but you'll be able to opt out like that. And so finally, thanks to everybody for participating. As promised, you'll get a note probably Friday, and we'll include Bill's presentation on design thinking and how it might be applicable to your organization in this time. So unless there's any last calls or stuff like that, I'm going to hover over the end meeting button, but here's your chance to wave goodbye or whatever you wish. I see Bill waving goodbye. I'm assuming everybody else is as well. All right, thanks everybody. Stay tuned, stay healthy, and enjoy your 19-minute gift of time. Take care all.
Thank you, Mark.